Indeed, and back in the studio for the first time in 2 weeks. Feels a little strange, but feels quite comfortable as well. Thank you very much for joining us here after a weekend off at Talladega. We'll talk a bit about that. Matt going to be with us live in the first hour by phone in hour number 2, or for most of it anyway. Stick around for that. We got plenty to get to. Got a new trophy maker for this weekend. If you remember from earlier on this year, you know what I'm talking about. We also got silly season rolling on, and this is involving more than one series. So yeah, we're really starting to get serious when it comes to drivers moving around and teams making moves. Got a couple expecting another child. That San Diego course that NASCAR is going to run next year, it's been finalized. We'll show it to you. Cadillac may finally have their American driver for Formula One, and Elite's Top Fuel Ride has a sponsor. We figured it would happen pretty quick, and it did. That and much more as we get ready to get in to CRN. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Did you enjoy Talladega last weekend? I'll tell you what, the weather, yeah, I get it. Sunday morning we had some rain move through the area and had some pretty severe winds. According to what some people said, it was about 60 mile per hour straight line winds at one point in time throughout the night. But once it cleared up, Friday, Saturday were beautiful. Sunday cooled off nicely. Actually felt like fall while the race was going on and turned into a beautiful day. So if you have the chance to go out there, you know exactly what we're talking about. This weekend, looking a lot the same for the guys up at the short track, but we'll worry about that in a little bit. Crossed Flags is available, recorded on Tuesday, posted Wednesday, I do believe. Thank you to producers Molly and John for getting everything set up on that. We appreciate it. Go ahead and check that out, too, because there's some news on there that we're not going to get to here. We just went ahead and put it on that. Plus, we'll just call it a commentary. We'll call it a commentary.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. It's on CRN Live on YouTube right now. All right, let's take a look at Talladega here. Yesterday a week ago at Talladega, Craftsman Truck Series got into action, their round of 8, and when all was said and done, it was actually a spoiler who claimed the win. Corey Heim looked like he was about ready to add to his already series record-setting win of 10 wins on the season, but his Tricon Garage teammate Gio Ruggiero actually was in front of him and was able to hold him off. And this marked Gio Ruggiero's first career win in the Truck Series. Apt reward for him and the team because they gave him a truck that led a race-high 37 of the 90 laps run. Yeah, it went into overtime. He grabbed the lead back with 2 laps to go. Then ThorSport Racing teammates Ben Rhodes and Luke Fenhouse made contact. Welcome to Talladega. This wasn't a malicious thing. It was just one of those things they were trying to work together and didn't. They both spun, led to a caution, led to overtime. Ruggiero got a good jump on the final restart, and as we noted, held Heim off to get the win. Heim claimed second, trailed by Ty Majeski, Dawson Sutton, Lane Riggs, Tyler Ankrum, Matt Crafton, Corey LaJoy, Rajah Caruth, Caden Honeycutt. That's your top 10. Heim wins the first race of the round of 8. He was already locked into the championship race, but the only one locked in after the second race. And we'll talk about the finals from the action after last night because they ran last night at the Paperclip in Martinsville and set the championship for, but that's coming up in a bit. Saturday at Talladega, Xfinity Series, the middle race of the round of 8 felt a little bit like a repeat of earlier this year because the same driver who found victory lane then was back in it again, and kind of deservedly so. Austin Hill was dominant, led a race-high 48 of the 100 laps run, even swept the stages as well. So he's now got 10 wins at tracks like Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta, all the drafting-style tracks. This is something that he really does have a knack for.
Yeah, he's what's the best way to categorize him? I'm not going to say he's the modern-day Mike Wallace because Mike Wallace didn't have as much luck on the other tracks, and Austin Hill does have wins on other trial tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to argue against him when you unload at a super speedway race. It's hard to argue against him.
It's one of those things. I mean, there are certain drivers that we can look at and go, yeah, we think they're kind of a threat at just about any track they go to. But when they unload at a specific track, you go, this track and this driver just go so well together. And Austin Hill seems so comfortable at Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta.
Well, a lot of it too is with car because it's anybody that's in an RCR car, a super speedway, and Xfinity. You cannot look past their lift gate.
That's true.
You can't.
Yeah, they really do bring good stuff there. The win for Hill does, nothing for him in the playoffs. He was eliminated after the round of 12. It does, however, keep the 21 car alive for the series owner's title, so there's that. Hill beats out Carson Kvapil to the line. Then the defending champion, Justin Allgaier, was third. Christian Eckes fourth. Cesar Baccarella fifth. Blaine Perkins, Parker Retzlaff, Leland Honeyman, Sammy Smith, and Jesse Love make up the top 10. That's what I love about the Daytonas and Atlantas and Talladegas. You get a whole lot of names that you don't generally mention throughout the course of the year.
Very true.
No new winners in the Xfinity Series means that in on points, both Connor Zilich and now Justin Allgaier are locked into the championship race. Then it was Jesse Love, Carson Kvapil. Kvapil's 11 over the cut line. 11 under the cut line is Sammy Smith. Still could make it in on points. Brandon Jones, could, but now he's got to jump over 2 drivers. He's 20 under. Sam Mayer's got to jump over 3 drivers, as does his teammate Sheldon Creed, who actually has to jump over 4. They're 22 and 41 under, respectively. I'll just state it. They would really need wins or a boatload of help to be able to advance on points.
Yep.
Again, there's only 2 spots left. Connor Zilich locked it in by a win. Justin Allgaier's in already on points. Mm-hmm. Sunday, Cup Series race got started first, but then the F1 race started and ended before the Cup Series race did. So let's go to Texas and COTA first. And if you were like we were and all but counting out 4-time defending champion Max Verstappen several weeks ago, well, strap in because he's making it interesting. Verstappen claimed the pole in the Lone Star State, and it translated into a win for the Dutch driver. Wasn't as dominant as some of the other wins he's had, but when he and all the other teams used a one-stop strategy that had Verstappen out on soft compound tires in that second and really last segment, he coaxed them to the finish. This is probably one of the best ways to describe this. This is a sign of a veteran driver, knows how to take care of the tires at the proper time. Young drivers will use all the tire up and then they'll go, I don't know what to do now. I've used them up, and they start to panic. Max Verstappen's not that guy.
It's more of a not just taking care of the tires on the car, because that's the number one thing that goes away on these F1 cars, but taking care of the car overall.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Taking care of the car overall.
That's true. Gap of under just 8 seconds in all once he got to the finish line. Beats out the McLaren of Lando Norris. Got Charles Leclerc in third, Lewis Hamilton fourth, and the other championship contender, Oscar Piastri, finishes fifth. George Russell was sixth, trailed by Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg. Oliver Behrman's in there with Fernando Alonso rounding it out. So here's your points standings. Oscar Piastri still holds the points lead, but it is a kind of slim 14-point lead over his teammate Lando Norris, 346 to 332. And here comes Max Verstappen, who sits now at 306 points with that win. George Russell's there in fourth, kind of all by himself with 252, and then Charles Leclerc's got 192. We'll leave it at the top five and move on. McLaren, as you know, if you're a longtime listener to our show, already racked up the Constructors' Cup trophy. Now it's at 678 to Mercedes 341. Second place is still up for grabs because Mercedes at 341, slim lead over Ferrari with 334, and there's Red Bull with 331, and that's basically all on the shoulders of one Max Verstappen because he's had very little help from either Red Bull teammate.
Yeah, very, very, very little.
Let's see, then you drop down to fourth. There's 111 for Williams, 72 for Racing Bull, so it seems like Williams might actually have this fifth place, I should say, locked up. Racing Bulls has got a battle on their hands. This is sixth and beyond. 72 for Racing Bulls, 69 for Aston Martin. Sauber with 59, and Haas F1's got 48. And then your cellar-bound Alpine, 20. That brings us to the Cup Series, wrapping up the round of 8 weekend at Talladega. The big one happened in the first stage. Go figure. Took out contender Chase Elliott, and for a time it appeared that the Team Penske playoff competitors of Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney might just be able to hook up and work it out amongst themselves to get at least one of the two of them into championship race. Figure it out at the end once, they're like, hey, we're teammates, we'll work to this point, but that's the white flag. It's everybody for themselves, right? It actually didn't work out that way. Chase Briscoe won stage 2, showed the power under the Joe Gibbs Racing hood of the 19, and then it came down to, as it kind of always seems to at Talladega, the final lap. With a push from his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe shot out front and was able to claim his very first super speedway win in the Cup Series. Seems kind of strange considering all the things that Chase Briscoe has been able to do, but he has never won at Atlanta, at Daytona, or at Talladega until last weekend.
And I can't complain about who won the race either. I have no complaints about it.
Why would you? I'm just asking, why would you?
You can't have a complaint because it's not a Penske car winning for a change and trying to clean out the entire field. Either a Penske car trying to clean out the entire field or a Penske car walking away with a win.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does seem like that they have really had something of a, not necessarily a stranglehold, but they certainly have had a very firm grip on being able to win at tracks like Daytona and Talladega especially.
Yeah, but it was puzzling to shoot themselves in the foot on one of those last few restarts of doing what they did and coming in because you're taking yourself out of it.
Well, and Joey Logano explained it. I was listening to a post-race interview, and I can't remember whether it was live or, recorded afterwards later.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But Joey Logano said that they were betting that there was going to be another caution flag.
You can't never put the firm bet on that because...
Yeah, you can't.
You can't.
That's, but that's... Those are the pluses and minuses of being a crew chief. Sometimes you take a gamble and it pays off, and other times you take that gamble and it falls flat.
Yep. I mean, yes. Can't complain. Can't complain because it was refreshing to see somebody of the caliber of Chase Briscoe actually win not actually win a race there on a super speedway, and 2, it was refreshing because you didn't see a Penske car go in and steal a spot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I got you. And it didn't hurt the fact that Chase Briscoe's the guy that I'm rooting for. Briscoe thanked his young teammate after the win, said, quote, Ty Gibbs, just an incredible teammate there. Honestly, would not have won that race without Ty. An amazing team effort. Can't believe that I won a super speedway race. Never done it at any level. Strange to think that he never was able to do that. Briscoe bested Todd Gilliland by less than 0.15 seconds at the line. Ty Gibbs ended up 3rd, Bubba Wallace 4th, Cole Custer 5th. This is that fun part where we hear a bunch of those names that we don't generally talk about, right? Rest of your top 10 consisted of Carson Hocevar, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Zane Smith. Talk more about him in a bit. And Brad Keselowski in the top 10. RFK Racing, specifically Brad Keselowski, he's got 6 wins at Talladega alone. And it doesn't surprise me that he's in the top 10. In fact, what surprises me is that he's not higher than 10th, I think.
Well, the part is, well, if Priest doesn't get shuffled when he gets shuffled, 1, and 2, if Buescher doesn't throw a bad block and cause that last restart and Rick Cassell.
Yeah, might have changed
I think
things.
you got a different story.
Yeah, might have changed things. That's true.
But in personal opinion, if the run gets timed, and I'm going to word it as a fraction quicker, I think you're looking at the 34 car winning the race.
That's very possible, yeah. Very possible. So here's the facts. With the win, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin are locked into the title round. And yes, they're actually seated in that order. That shows the consistency of the 19 over necessarily the 11. But both of them are going to be very, very tough to deal with. And then talk about a big-time hurdle here. We go into Martinsville tomorrow as we air live with Christopher Bell 37 over and Kyle Larson 36 over the cut line. So while, yes, mathematically possible for William Byron and Joey Logano, and yes, even Ryan Blaney to point their way in, it would mean needing a lot of help here. William Byron's 36 under, Joey Logano's 38 under, Ryan Blaney's 47 under. You can get 61 possible points if you sweep both stages and claim the win and get the fastest lap of the race. But still, at 47 points, Ryan Blaney would need a boatload of help if he did not claim the win.
Yeah, he would.
Ugh. By the way, Chase Elliott, 62 under. He was involved in that first segment crash at Talladega, so 62 under. He definitely needs to win to move on.
Yeah.
All right, Craftsman Truck Series Quartet battling for the title to get into the title race. 8 drivers going to get knocked down to 4 in the Slim Jim 200 mat. Neither one of us had the chance to really watch it, but let's go ahead and get the results. I'll turn that over to you for that.
Taking the 11th win of the year.
There's a shock.
Corey Heim winner, Caden Honeycutt 2nd, Wayne Riggs 3rd, Brent Cruz 4th, Corey LaJoy 5th, Chandler Smith 6th, Todd Majeski 7th, Tanner Gray 8th, Tyler Ankrum 9th, and Brendan Queen in 10th.
All right. So, yeah, no shock here. Corey Heim, we knew this already, moves on to the championship race. No shock, right? A little bit of a shock here by who he's joined by. He's joined by Ty Majeski, Tyler Ankrum, and based upon tiebreaker, Caden Honeycutt makes it in over Lane Riggs. The tiebreaker was having the best finish of the 2 of those drivers during the round of 8, an 8th place finish for Caden Honeycutt, best anything that Lane Riggs could have done in those 3 races. So he moves on. They had to drop down a few.
It was actually, if I'm looking at it based off of the round of 8, best round of 8 finish, he got the tiebreaker last night, finishing P2 versus P3.
That's it. That's all that it was.
Yep.
That close, ladies and gentlemen. 4 teams are alive for the driver's title, because not only is Caden Honeycutt in, so's the Hallmark Friesen Racing Truck, the underdog single truck team, along with Tricon and so on. And then the title race kind of evenly spread out as well. 2 Toyotas, a Ford, and a Chevrolet. I mean, if you're thinking about it, this is a pretty balanced combination that we're looking at for this coming Friday night out in Phoenix.
It is, and it's a pretty, it's balanced for sure, and I think it's pretty even. But how can you not go the sentimental favorite being Caden Honeycutt?
I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm going to root for him. I really am.
It is. But considering it's probably going to take an atomic bomb to stop
to get past Corey Heim. And he was my pick going in. We remember that during our picks. I picked Corey Heim. That was the obvious one.
And remember, he choked it away last year.
Yeah, that's true.
At Phoenix.
But yeah, I agree with you. I got to admit, I'm rooting for Caden Honeycutt to pull this off because I think it would be such a cool story after everything that happened to Stuart Friesen, everything that happened to Caden Honeycutt, the fact that two of them were able to get together and make this run. It's such a great story.
But if you do it, please win the race. Because
don't leave anything to doubt.
Yeah, don't leave anything to doubt. Win the race. Win it outright. Because if you win the race, if you win the championship without winning the race, and you've got somebody with 11 wins of the year sitting right there,
yeah, there's going to be screaming.
Meltdown will ensue.
There's going to be screaming. You're right. Later today, as we air live on this Saturday, Martinsville going to host the Xfinity Series Round of 8 cutoff race. It's called the IAA and Ritchie Brothers 250. Can't make this stuff up. Airs on the CW and MRN radio. Starts 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sunday, the Cup Series Round of 8 cutoff race at Martinsville is the Xfinity 500. Yeah. It's airing on NBC and MRN radio. Starts 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Xfinity's not going to title sponsor the race in the Xfinity Series, but hey, it's their money. What am I going to say about it, right? And then it will be a literal race to see which one ends first on this one, because then Formula One goes south of the border. They're going to run the Mexican Grand Prix on the 17-turn, 2.8-mile-long Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. It'll air on ABC starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be close. Still might give the slight edge to Formula One, truth be told.
Considered as Martinsville for Cup, yep.
Yeah, IHRA, NHRA are off again this weekend. All right, as we noted, Matt's in studio live through the end of this hour. Then he'll join us by phone for the first two segments of hour number 2. We'll get as much out of him as we can. And it starts by talking about the Cup Series. Silly season is underway. Dominoes have begun to fall. And they're beginning to fall in the Cup Series as well. And what I mean by that is big dominoes, big names. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Not a whole lot of movement going on in the Cup Series, but this one's one to talk about.
Well, coming back here, getting into the news segment of the CRN this morning, we want to make sure that we touch on and give the proper coverage to NASCAR and all three of their series is that we rightfully should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proper coverage,
Yeah, proper coverage. Make sure that we do cover it.
Exactly.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
If you're questioning why we're talking about it that way, go watch Cross Flags. All right, so here we go. Silly season underway. Maybe, and I say maybe because there may be another bigger domino out there, but I'm not sure who it's going to be or what it might be. Daniel Suarez, though, now has his fourth Cup Series home. It was announced on Wednesday he's going to join Spire Motorsports next year to drive the 7 car, a car made available when Spire announced that Justin Haley was going to be out at the end of this year. Suarez has been racing for Trackhouse Racing the past 5 years. It does seem to me when we talked about the fact that Trackhouse announced that they were going to be splitting with Suarez, you and I both kind of agreed. You said it first. I'll give you the credit for this, and you and I both agreed. He probably was going to land right here at Spire.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. Well, at the time, I wasn't expecting it to be this car. I was expecting it honestly to be probably the 71. I figured McDowell, because he was on year to year, I figured McDowell would be somewhere else. But McDowell has actually pulled the weight of the team this year. So this is not a terrible surprise.
No, not big at all. I mean, you and I, we've been wondering about Justin Haley for a little while. He's an okay racer, but he has not proven himself beyond that kind of surprise win a couple of years ago at Daytona. I'm not sure he's proven much more than that.
It's I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but he actually showed more last year in a Rick Ware car versus than what he showed this year. And that's bad to say.
Well, and it started off bad, too. When you stop and think about it, he gets Rodney Childers from the old Stewart Haas Racing team to begin the year, one of the more renowned crew chiefs there, and apparently those two somehow didn't get along, and their whole year really started off on the wrong foot, and they never recovered.
And Rodney's giving him the car. Rodney's going to give him the car that he needs.
Yeah.
And he couldn't catch a cold in Siberia with it.
Sad to say. As for Suarez, it's, well, at Trackhouse Racing is where he got his 2 Cup Series wins and 321 Cup Series starts as of last weekend. 24 top 5, 75 top 10 finishes, 3 pole positions in his career. Been in and around NASCAR since 2012. Started part-time in the ARCA Menard Series that year. Impressing in that series enough, got some spot truck series starts, got a full-time Xfinity ride with Joe Gibbs Racing in 2015, won the Xfinity title in 2016, moved up in 2017 to Gibbs, spent 2 years in the 19 car before he got replaced. And then he moved over to Stewart Haas Racing in the 41 for 1 year, moved from there to Gaunt Brothers in the 96 for a season before Trackhouse gave him the 1 car. Now he's over in the 7 car. Freeway Insurance, which has been a primary supporter of Daniel Suarez for many a year, they're going to stick with him, and they're going to move from Trackhouse Racing to Spire as the 7 car's anchor sponsor. Doesn't mean that they're the only one, but they're going to be on the car the most part of the time.
This is going to be interesting because you're going to have 2 insurance companies. Actually, all technicality, under this banner, you're going to have 3 insurance companies sponsoring.
Yeah.
Delaware Life, Gamebridge Life, and Freeway. Freeway mainly deals with property and casualty and automotive insurance. Okay? But there's an interesting twist on this right here that I caught last night while in the middle of halftime when I was in Montgomery at a ball game. Because Spire is basically the de facto Andretti Global Cup team.
It is. Which we knew was going to be happening.
Yeah.
That all the signs pointed to that.
I've been screaming it from the top of Mount Everest for 3-4 years now.
Yeah. They may keep the Spire name, and if they do, that's great. But for all intents and purposes, it's Andretti Global NASCAR.
But let's say we're at the TWG Motorsports banner.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it is. Carlos Slim now has both Mexican drivers that he backs and represents and helps Both of them are now under the TWG banner.
Yeah, because over at Cadillac F1. Think about that. It's pretty good stuff. During our 2 weeks away from this desk, we learned a whole lot of stuff, including Kyle Busch going to have a new crew chief for 2026. When it was announced that he was going to get a new crew chief, you and I immediately thought Rodney Childers. No, not in this case. Richard Childress Racing reportedly looked to promote from within, according to Austin Dillon. Got to talking about the hire in the week leading up to the Talladega race, then determined that those people within RCR were best left in their current position, so they hired from outside and hired away from Junior Motorsports, specifically Jim Pullman. Pullman's been calling the shots for Justin Allgaier since the 2023 season. As we noted, Allgaier's your defending Xfinity Series champion, so he's going to be leaving at the end of this year, so they're going to run today at Martinsville and next weekend out at Phoenix. They're already locked in points-wise for the title run here, so they could claim 2 in a row. We'll see. Pullman worked at RCR before. He was their head of research and development. Prior to that, he's been spot crew chief for drivers like Juan Pablo Montoya, Ross Chastain, Austin Dillon, Austin Hill, going all the way back to 2011. But this is going to be his first Cup Series regular crew chief role. But not a bad move.
Oh, no.
Not a bad move at all. Jim Pullman's a good shot caller. Yeah. Obviously, you win a title, you have to think that.
He's a good wrench, that's for sure.
Yeah. Then there's Hendrick Motorsports. They've announced they've got a new sponsor for William Byron. It's Anduril Industries. Anduril Industries is a leading defense tech company. They're coming on board for the 24 in a multi-year deal through 2028. Covers 2 races a year with 2026, including naturally the race in San Diego at the Coronado Naval Base. In addition, Anduril will become the official defense partner of NASCAR. I didn't realize we needed one, but we got one. And they're the title sponsor of the race, which is now being called, this is, I think, the third name of it, the Anduril 250.
Okay. So they need a defense partner now for some of the official defense partners now because of some of said media members that are now launching nukes at them for some of the practices they have.
What I'm really wanting is I'm wanting these NASCAR cars to kind of turn into James Bond-like cars, and we can hit a button on the dashboard and like leave an oil slick if we don't like the person behind us. Can we get that? Is that possible?
Don't know.
Machine guns out the headlights?
All right, let's go. Hey, let's go NASCAR 98 and throw paintballs out the back.
Seems like a fun thing to do.
While you're listening to Molly Hatchet flirting with disaster.
There you go. Knock it out, man. Front Row Motorsports announced on Thursday of this week they have extended the contracts of not just one, but all 3 of their 2025 drivers. This is going to be something we're going to deal with on a little bit longer basis, but let me give you the full story here. They announced it on social media. Zane Smith has signed a multi-year deal. Noah Gragson and Todd Gilliland also going to be back for the 2026 season at least. Their simple post was simply this, quote, "The big 3 are here to stay." Now, I find this interesting because, remember, Front Row Motorsports is one of the 2 teams involved in the lawsuit against NASCAR based upon the charters. But Front Row is willing to come out and state, hey, we've re-signed all 3 of our drivers. There's something underlying here that Front Row Motorsports is basically kind of hinting at, but is not coming out and stating fully. There's something here. They're either really, really confident in their court case or a settlement's coming real soon.
They know, simply put, them and 2311 know something.
Yeah. Because you don't make an announcement like that with that lawsuit still going on unless you know something.
Because weeks ago, I saw and read that 2311, 2311, they gave all the word to all of their employees, drivers included, that everything is all set and good to go through 2026 at least. Through. So they know something.
Yeah, something's up. So, and this is not to take anything away from any of these drivers. Don't misunderstand me. I think it's great. Love the fact that all 3 drivers are there. I like this trio specifically for Front Row. I like 2 of the 3 over at 2311. Riley Earps might be a little bit in over his head.
He's still green right now.
Yeah. So he might still be a little bit in over his head, but for the most part, I like what 2311's got. So I like the 6 drivers that we're talking about here. And the fact that they're willing to do that makes me feel a lot better about what's coming up. It's now just a matter of working out those details in this lawsuit, figuring out what it's going to be.
Yeah, because apparently, either, like you said, either that settlement's coming or Jeffrey Kessler's got an awfully big hook he's about to launch out and get everybody baited on that hook.
We'll see. News that came out late last night, early this morning. Congratulations out to Bubba and Amanda Wallace. They've announced that they are expecting their second child. It'll be due next March. He or she will join older brother Bex, who was born in September of 2024. So they're only going to be about a year and a half apart. Good luck, Amanda, because Bubba's busy. And then there's this, and if you're listening to us on the flagship station, 95.1 The Mountain, thank you very much, number one. But number two, we'll try to describe this as best we can, but truth be told, if you get the chance at some point in time, it's best to go on to CRN Live on YouTube and take a look at this, because really you got to be able to slap your eyes on it. NASCAR's released the official course that they're going to use when all three top series head to San Diego to run the Coronado Naval Base next June.
And you sit there and look at this image of this course. That is the exact thing that was on that teaser video.
Yeah, it's not very much different at all, if any. Picture of which is on CRN Live on YouTube, thanks to producer John. Craftsman Trucks O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, I got to get used to that. And the Cup Series, they're going to be taken to this 16-turn, relatively long, 3.4-mile-long course around the base. Let's try and give you some highlights here. Start-finish line is being called the Ellison, E-L-L-Y-S-O-N, start-finish line. It is named after Commander Theodore Ellison, who's the Naval Aviator number 1. He's the man basically credited with the commission of the Coronado base as a naval air station way back in 1917. Seems appropriate that they would name it after him.
Yeah, for sure.
Turn 5 is going to be called Carrier Corner. Very appropriate because this is a left-hander that basically runs you between the docking stations of not just one but two aircraft carriers. It's not thought that aircraft carriers are going to be in port at that time. But I don't. You want to talk about a massive, really cool background if there was one.
Oh, it will be. It will be. It will be. So, I want to put this disclaimer out there. Dear MRN, because we know MRN will have this covered. They have this race. Dear MRN, can we put Califamo on one of the carriers and knock the F-16 off at the same time? Please? Can you?
It will be interesting to see.
Can we put Califamo on there and go, or they come in the turn back?
This is going to be, I mean, you think about all these turns here. These are 16 turns, and there aren't really situations. Okay, let's go back to when you were, Mid-Ohio?
Yeah.
You were able to see multiple corners.
I had turns 6, 7, 8, 9, and entry to 10.
You're looking at this course. The one person is going to be able to see multiple corners, really, and that's going to be the person that's set up. Turn 5 ain't it. Okay?
I'll looking at the layout, I'll throw an asterisk on that. If you position the spot, you can't have less than 3 spotters at this race. You can't.
Oh God, I'm thinking you maybe even have 5.
You're gonna have to have at least 5 for the length of the course.
Yeah, because you got the start-finish line, so that's going to be your booth announcers. You figure once you get past turn 1, you got turns 2, 3, and 4. That's going to be 1. Turn 5 is a second one. 6, 7. You might be able to do 6, 7, 8, 9 with one person.
If you position, let's just say hypothetically, even though if the carriers are docked there, and they was to allow spotters to use one of the carriers, if you sat on that carrier in the right position, you could have 3, 4, 5, 6 into 7.
Maybe, but I'm not sure I would do that. I'm not so certain that I would, but yeah, you might be able to do it
if you had a position correctly.
But I'll put myself in the position of the person who is assigning this, the head of MRN or whoever it is. I'm going to put, you got the booth announcers, I'm going to put a spotter in turns 2, 3, and 4.
Your A guy's gonna be 2, 3, and 4.
Actually,
I would put your B guy in 6.
I might put my A guy in 6 and put my B guy in 2, 3, and 4. But I see where you're going. Put one guy in turn 5, weakest one of the bunch. We'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, there's one guy. 10, 11, 12, I think you could get away with one person. 13, 14, 15, depending on where they're set up, you might actually be able to do 16, but I think you could go 16 to 1 with your booth. So I'm going to go 13, 14, 15 with another person. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 spotters plus your booth guys. That's how I would do it.
Since we're at the break, let's take us to break and let me study this a minute, and I can position some spotters here.
Okay. I'll be interested to see how much he changes it.
And I'm thinking from a sense of, from a team aspect of how I will position my spotters for my driver to be able to have a successful run.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, so with that, all right, so we've gotten up to carrier corner. That's turn number 5. We'll start at turn 8 when we come back as we continue to review the actual layout of the San Diego street course that they're going to use next year when all 3 top series of NASCAR, yeah, we're covering them all, go to San Diego. And we're talking about San Diego. Street courses, road courses, they are controversial. There's no doubt about it. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm okay with them. I'm not necessarily certain NASCAR's really all that well suited to them. Yeah. I think it's much easier and much better in a Formula One IndyCar kind of setting. But NASCAR seems committed to doing this. So
this would be a solid F1 track.
Yeah,
it'd be solid. It'd be very solid.
But here's the other thing. I'm not led to believe this is a long-term situation either.
I don't see the U.S. military allowing this being long term.
Not an annual deal, no. But for the 250th anniversary of our country,
It makes sense.
I'm okay with it. It's a one-time thing. I'm okay with it. All right, and we left off talking about Carrier Corner. Carrier Corner's turn number 5 of a 16-turn course.
We looked at it, like you said, we looked at it through the break too.
Yeah.
And determined it's going to take a minimum 4 spotters for a team.
Yes.
To be correctly spotted and correctly spotted and safely spotted.
And he's looking at it from a team standpoint of making sure that you've got 4 spotters there telling your driver what to expect. I'm looking at it from the radio broadcast point. This is an MRN, Motor Racing Network broadcast. I'm thinking I'm going to use four people calling out along the track. They could, depending on where exactly they're placed, because none of these buildings are too terrifically tall. I'm not overly familiar with this. You've seen the 3D rendering of this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how tall necessarily the buildings are. You're telling me that really none of these buildings in the interior here are all that tall.
Not very, from what I can see, not very. The highest sightline point, if they were allowed to do it, is spot from one of the carriers.
It would be. And if they could do that, then the person who would do that might be your A caller, because they could do 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Possibly down to 8.
Maybe 8, but certainly basically from 3 to 7, if they allowed that to happen, if there's an aircraft carrier in base at that time.
Right. Now, from the team side of it, knowing how the area was set up for Mid Ohio, which Mid Ohio is a different animal layout wise. If I had to, and I'm gonna say if I had to shoot from the hip here, the main spotter stand for the A spotter, which is the lead spotter that spots on a weekly basis for that driver.
Mm-hmm.
That stand area is probably going to be in turn 1. Look at the map. That way they've got from turn 16, the exit of 16, down into 2. That's going to be the only real sight line that you have with that.
Mm-hmm. And depending on how tall the tower is, maybe you could see 3 and 4. Maybe,
but it's very, very doubtful.
Right.
All right. Your B spotter, let's just word it as your B spotter. Let's say hypothetically they was to give them the sight line that's in turn 5, which would be right there where the carriers are. All right. Let's say that we're going to have a good sight line. You can spot from the carriers. This carrier is, let's use the word, is decommissioned for the weekend. So you can stand on the carrier and use the carrier sight line. That B spotter is going to have from 3, 4, 5, 6 into 7.
Yeah, okay? I can see that.
I'm going to say your C spotter will be in turn 9.
You wouldn't put him in 10?
I would put him in 9.
Okay.
So that way you've got a straightaway look. You've got a look coming from your right, coming out of turn 8. You've got a straightaway look off of 9, 10, down into 11, and into 12. But I wouldn't put him on the inside of turn 9. I'd put him on the outside of turn 9.
Okay. No, all right. I see where you're going with it.
Your D spotter, I would have them in turn 14.
Yeah.
Possibly 15.
Depending on placement.
Depending on placement. But if it was me, I would go turn 15 so that way when they exit out of 12, you've got a sight line to your left. You're looking at them coming from your left to right, 12 down into 13. You've got a straight on head on angle into 14 and going in your right into firm 15 down to 16.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I would put them.
I got you.
And it would make sense. And you've got clear sight lines. You've got safe sight lines where it's a good spotted, clean race.
Okay. So in the description here, for those that are listening on the radio, we left off at Carrier Corner, which is a sweeping corner. It's not it's about 90 degrees, give or take, but it's more of a sweeping corner, not a real hard left-hand turn. Then you get up into the turn 8 area. This is something they're calling the Coronado Chicane, a switchback that's going to slow drivers down on a relatively high-speed course. Go to turn 14. This is an area called Runway Road. Leads to the north end of the Halsey Fields runways 18/36. In addition, NASCAR and the U.S. Navy said on Friday that June 19th is only going to be open to those stationed on the Naval Base Coronado and residents of Naval Base Coronado to watch the Truck Series race. That's not open to the public. It's just for the Navy people. It's a little weird, but okay. I guess it's a bonus for them.
So you're backtracking on what you initially said.
To a certain extent. General public will get access for the racing of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Again, we're coming to the end of the Xfinity Series. O'Reilly takes it over next year. That's going to be Saturday, June 20th. Cup Series, Sunday, June 21st. Obviously, you got the public there as well.
You're sitting here blowing this up and just exploding this, being on this weekend, being on a naval base. Why are you only opening it up 2 out of 3 days? Makes no sense.
Security. It's got to be.
Absolutely, it's got to be.
Yeah. Pre-sale tickets for those who had placed deposits through NASCARSanDiego.com went to those customers starting on Thursday, a couple of days ago. Sales to the general public will begin November 7th. And as far as pit road is concerned, if you look really, really carefully down at the bottom there, right near the Ellison start-finish line, you'll notice that they have an offshoot just before you get into turn 16. That's the pit road right there, and it's going to go all the way down through turn 1, and you come back onto the course the way I'm reading it in turn 2.
Yes. You'll exit pit road into 1 and 2. Yep.
Seems a relatively long pit road.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not surprised that everything's to the right and not to the inside to the left.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's going to run very much what we're similar to on every single oval that we run in NASCAR. It's going to run counterclockwise. So
I expected the runway area to be a lot longer than it was.
Yeah, I got to admit, I did too. I'm not really sure what's going on. So we'll use turn the area of runway road 12 on into 13. It is kind of surprising that you could not figure out a way to run that longer. But again, not being there, I don't know what's beyond 13 that might have kept them from being able to do it.
But there's I would say it's a very high possibility that they had no choice but to leave some of that runway open in the event something was to go AWOL.
Yeah.
And something had to be launched out of there.
Good God, let's hope something doesn't go sideways.
Yeah, let's hope it don't.
All right. On to some other things. You might remember us noting back in the late spring that Howard Miller, the company that has been making the grandfather clocks that were handed out to each Martinsville winner for so many years, they were going out of business, and it left the track officials looking for a new clock maker. Just in time, they found one. They have officially announced that a company called Harmley is their new clockmaker for Martinsville Speedway. Harmley North America was founded over a century. Well, Harmley was founded over a century ago in 1922 in Germany by Franz Harmley. Survived the Second World War and continued making clocks. They opened up operations in the United States in 1977 with their division called Harmley NA. Headquarters in Wisconsin, providing machine tools and automation for various industries. The clockmaking operation started shortly thereafter, early 1980s, and that is located in Amherst, Virginia, so not too far away from Martinsville. Very convenient for them. So happy to hear that they've got themselves a brand new clockmaker.
For sure.
As for the 2027 schedule, yeah, we found out one little piece of information. Don't expect the full schedule to be announced until summer 2026. But what we do know is this. NASCAR officials have announced the date for the 2027 Daytona 500. It'll be run Sunday, February 21st. Moves back another week from this and next year's date of the season opening points race because of the National Football League. Frank Kelleher, president of Daytona International Speedway, said this, quote, "We have fans from all 50 states and dozens of countries looking forward to kicking off the NASCAR season at the World Center of Racing. And we know many of them make their travel and lodging plans well in advance for the trip. For the 2027 date shifts to February 21st because we wanted to give our amazing and loyal fans plenty of opportunity to prepare to be in Daytona Beach for the excitement of the great American race that it provides each and every year." Again, this is made necessary because the NFL continues to expand out their season. They moved the Super Bowl back a week to what is the traditional Daytona 500 date that we've been used to for I don't even know how long now. But on President's Day weekend, so NASCAR has been their custom. They don't attempt to compete with the Super Bowl, which I don't know any sports league that wants to compete with the Super Bowl.
Absolutely not.
So they moved off of it and went back a week. It will be interesting to see how this affects the rest of the schedule for 2027, because that's going to change things.
True.
It will have an effect for the rest of that year.
Very true.
And the NASCAR Driver Advisory Council, speaking of that lawsuit with 2311 in front row on one side and NASCAR on the other. The NASCAR Driver Advisory Council has put their 2 cents into the lawsuit by filing what they call an amicus brief. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on the radio, so I had to look it up just to make sure I knew what it was. For the record, an amicus brief is a legal filing by a person or entity that is not directly involved but does have an interest in a particular case. That's the best way I could figure out how to put it. The filing stated this, quote, "The drivers seek 3 overall objectives with any resolution of this case. 1, protect the long-term interests for existing and future drivers in the sport. 2, provide a permanent and meaningful position for drivers collectively to have an independent voice on important issues in the sport. And 3, for all parties to act in the best interest of the fans to provide the best experience possible." Can't really argue with any of those 3 points.
You can't. You absolutely can't.
At the same point in time, did you need to file this brief? Because it does kind of seem to me like all 3 of those points would have been like, well, duh.
Probably done.
Sorry.
Probably did it as a safety net.
Just to make sure, sort of thing?
Yeah, just to make sure kind of thing.
Okay. All right, we'll see where this goes. Again, I'm hoping they did at least 2 days of mediation this week. I'm hoping they're close to something. Because I'm so done with this thing. I'm so done with this lawsuit.
Yes, sir.
Good gosh.
Very.
All right, and for one of the few times this year we have had the chance to have a head-to-head battle between NASCAR and Formula One. And I say head-to-head, I mean, yeah, they have appeared on television kind of right around the same time, but we haven't been able to compare it apples to apples. In other words, one has been on a major network, the other's been on cable. Didn't matter which one was which. So that's the difference here. Last week, we got, and I can't even tell you if this has happened, 20-something years ago, that all 3 top series of NASCAR showed up on network television.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So at Talladega, the Truck Series was on the Fox network on Friday afternoon, thanks to Fox for actually doing that. Xfinity Series on the CW on Saturday. And on Sunday, NBC carried the Talladega Cup Series race.
And let me guess, one of the 3 only had an actual live booth.
You are correct. Then you look at ABC ESPN's coverage of Formula One. Well, it was at COTA. It was at Texas. So they shifted it from ESPN to ABC. So network versus network. What was the story? Well, the weekend's ratings came in on Wednesday. In this head-to-head battle, network battle between F1 and the Cup Series won. Not by much. Talladega race brought in 2.556 million viewers compared to Formula One's U.S. Grand Prix figure of 1.5 million. But this is a concerning trend. The Cup numbers for Talladega from 2024 to 2025 down. Now, it is an increase from the 2023 fall race at Talladega, but wasn't 2023 a rainout?
I think so. It went to
So
Monday.
2024 was up from 2023. 2024's numbers 3.127. So we went 3.127 million to 2.556. That's not a good sign when you had a beautiful day and everything ran on time.
Not for there. That's concerning.
Yes, massively. Then there's the F1 numbers. The U.S. Grand Prix from 2024 to 2025, up a little bit. They just continue to slowly tick up steadily.
Considering I wasn't able to get the photograph I said I was going to get, the stands were okay. They weren't spectacular.
Would you call it 75%?
I would say 70. Some of the
75% was a benchmark number that I said. If it's below 75%, NASCAR does need to be concerned. Because
I would say 70.
Talladega is that destination location. People come there, and yes, we had them from all 50 states, and we had 25 countries represented there. But when your grandstands are sitting at 70%,
when you sit and refocus your eyes on the turn 4 end down to the tri-oval, there were quite a few bare spots.
so
And that's a head scratcher.
yep. Alarm bell should be ringing somewhere. Right, so we're going to say goodbye live to Matt here in studio. He is going to be by phone as we kick off hour number 2. As we do switch over and start talking about Formula One, got Xfinity, Truck Series, NHRA, IHRA, and Formula E news all yet to come here on a busy hour 2 that kicks off after we take this short break.
Let's get ready.
Welcome back in. Steve West in studio. Matt Nicholson, as you can see if you're watching on CRN Live, not in studio. Matt Nicholson is in his truck, as he's going to be Coach Matt here shortly. So you're in that seat. And I'm going to be headed down there because your game kicks off, you said 10:30? Okay, so I'm going to head on down there after we get done here, and I'm going to go check it out. So comments on this real quick, going back to what we were talking about, the San Diego course. One of our commentators said it's going to be SVG winning. Is that a guarantee, or the fact that we've got Connor Zilic coming into the Cup Series next year, does that mean he's got competition? Okay. I'd say that's fair. Okay. All right, let's talk a little Formula One here at the U.S. Grand Prix. A couple of early run-ins. One resulted in a penalty, the other resulting in, well, a war of words. As for the penalty, Carlos Sainz gets a 5 grid spot penalty for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix after qualifying because he and Kimi Antonelli got into each other and it was determined to be Sainz's fault. Sainz attempting to make a pass on Antonelli late in the race. Sainz claims that Antonelli opened up a path for him to get through, so he took the chance. But then Antonelli corrected, and the two got into each other, spinning Antonelli out, causing suspension damage to Sainz's car. Race steward stated Sainz was at fault after the race, levied the post-qualifying penalty. Sainz said that he had done the exact same thing in the same kind of opportunity successfully against Ollie Behrman in the Haas F1 a couple of laps prior. Just because you did it right one time doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do it again. Plus, you can never predict what one driver is going to do versus another driver. So I'm not sure that argument holds water for Carlos, Matt. All right. So you understand where that penalty comes from. No penalty on this one, but again, war of words. As for Behrman, he was a little less worried about Sainz, more concerned about the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda, whom Behrman tried to pass on lap 34 of the U.S. Grand Prix. Behrman was closing in on Tsunoda in a battle for 7th, was setting up to make a move to the inside of the Red Bull when Behrman says Tsunoda made a blatant blocking move. Said after the race, quote, "I felt that what he did was very dangerous, against the spirit of regulations and against the spirit of going racing, actually." But again, race stewards did not penalize Tsunoda. The aftermath, actually, though, might have hurt him more than most might think. Behrman added this, quote, "Although I did avoid a crash, I lost 2 positions," because obviously he had to check up and hit the brakes. "It's a big shame," he said. "It's disappointing because there was the possibility of more, at least 8th if not 7th, because clearly I had more pace than him at that stage, but I feel like he's been doing these desperate moves. During the sprint, he was dive bombing down the inside, and the same in the main race at turn 1. It's a lot of risk. I probably should have left a bit more margin for that kind of driving." So Behrman obviously is highly emotional about this. Tsunoda, after the race, and after being told of what Behrman said, defended himself and said this, quote, "I'll have to check from his view on board, but obviously how we ended up, if unfortunate, we were fighting hard and it was fighting good up until then. It's just unfortunate how we ended up like that. But in my view, I don't think I've done anything extremely wrong. That's it, and I don't think I moved under braking." Formula One race stewards apparently felt the same way. They didn't levy a penalty. It comes the question of, what's the line here? Because sometimes you look at it and you think, okay, that's a penalty, and then you turn around and you get another situation which looks the exact same, and it's not a penalty. So basically, it's like refereeing in the Southeastern Conference. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Let's see. Let's move on to the next thing. When Michael Andretti started up with the idea of beginning an F1 team way long ago, back before all the massive drama really got underway, Michael Andretti said that his intent was to make sure that he had at least one American-born driver on his team. And it looks like we may, and I use the term and I emphasize the word may very, very specifically, because Cadillac have announced that they're thinking of that next American-born driver and that they think it might just be Colton Herta. Cadillac has hired Herta already as a development and practice driver, but because he doesn't have his F1 Super license to be able to run Formula One at this time, and it is harder to do it in IndyCar than any other way, they have now taken him out of IndyCar and they're putting him in Formula 2, because if you were to win the Formula 2 title, you actually get enough points by just claiming that title to get automatically your F1 Super license. Now, he's got some points on there because of his performance in IndyCar, but even if you win the IndyCar title, which he hasn't, you only get 30 points. That's the equivalent of Formula 3, which I think is way undercutting what IndyCar does. But that's another story for another day. But he has accrued points. And because, again, depending on how well he does, there's going to be an adjustment period. How hard do you think the adjustment to go from IndyCar to Formula 2 is? Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. Okay. Cadillac pole herder from Indycar. Again, he's going to run with the High-Tech team. High-Tech's got a winning pedigree. It was started by former Renault Alpine team principal Ollie Oakes. He's won at least one race each and every year since joining Formula 2 back in 2020. It's also pretty convenient for Herta because his full-time gig in the Formula 2 ride at High-Tech, that campus is quite literally a short walk from there to the Cadillac facility in Silverstone, England, which is just outside of the noted home track of the British Grand Prix. Herta said of the opportunity, quote, racing on some of the weekends as Formula One is going to give me some firsthand experience of that environment, help me grow as part of the Cadillac F1 family. I'm grateful to Cadillac and High-Tech for their trust and support. I cannot wait to get started. Yeah, I bet you can't wait to get started. Good night. That's one heck of an opportunity. We're going to miss him in IndyCar, there's no doubt. He's a very heralded young driver. We'll see what he can do and whether or not he does make it over and become that next American-born F1 driver. Time will tell. And we touched on this, but I think it's important to go ahead and mention it again here. We touched on it during the Cross Flags podcast, but this one shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone. Formula One, they are indeed moving next year. They're moving from the ABC ESPN family to Apple TV, what used to be called Apple TV Plus. The head honchos at Apple so happy with Formula One, especially after the success of F1 the movie, that they're already talking about making a sequel after that movie grabbed almost $700 million in worldwide box office. And with ESPN's contract with the series coming into an end this year, at the end of this season, they jumped at it. With a reported annual rights fee offer of $150 million, it's said to be twice the annual fee currently being paid by the ABC ESPN family, about $75 million. And that is what they were reportedly offering up. Again, as Formula One's commercial rights holders Liberty Media decided to take the bigger offer to move to the streaming service. There had been talk that Netflix was also in on this and willing to offer up somewhere in the $100 million plus area, but they had restrictions on what they were going to air live and what they were not going to air live. And when Apple TV said we'll air every single race live just like ABC ESPN does, which means race coverage will have no commercial breaks in it whatsoever, it just made sense for them to go ahead and do it. Yep. Spokesperson for the series added that they also see this as a growth opportunity beyond just Apple TV, said this deal, quote, will amplify the sport across Apple News, Apple Maps, Apple Music, Apple Sports, and Apple Fitness Plus. I don't know how they're going to do all that, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I care. They're also saying they're going to add a Spanish language option on the streaming service. For those of you who don't, and I'm one of them, who don't have Apple TV, I am hearing that kind of like what Disney did with a bundle, where you could get Disney and Hulu, which technically is going away, and ESPN all in a bundle, or the ESPN Fox Sports, what are they calling it? One? I forget what they're calling the combo that you can get ESPN Sports and Fox Sports in one bundle. But we're seeing that more and more where different streaming services are partnering together and creating a bundle where you can get it for less than what you would obviously get it if you bought them both separately. I'm hearing that Paramount Plus and Apple TV are working on a package together where you might be able to get both for somewhere around $12.99 a month. I'll be very interested in that. I do have Paramount Plus. I don't have Apple. If they do that combination, I might just jump at that. Yeah, I think it would. Let's see. Last weekend, big weekend at Texas, obviously with the return of F1 to the Circuit of the Americas. The road course specifically built to enable F1 to return to racing here in the United States. It opened up in 2012. And the current deal between COTA and Formula One did have one more year on it. It was set to expire at the end of next year, 2026. But before the racing got underway, they announced the two sides had come to terms on an extension of their deal to host F1, and the U.S. Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas will now run through 2034. F1 CEO and President Stefano Domenicali said, quote, "Since 2012, the United States Grand Prix has continued to grow in strength and in popularity. I want to thank the city of Austin and Travis County, Texas for hosting us. Each year, the event at COTA stands out as a true highlight for fans, drivers, and teams alike, drawing hundreds of thousands of passionate supporters who come to witness the thrilling on-track action. Soak it up." To his note, COTA has been consistently among the best, if not the best, attended races on the F1 schedule each and every year. This past weekend, no different. Over the 3 days, some 400,000 plus times the turnstiles were turned. Now, Formula One does this differently. NASCAR doesn't even announce their attendance numbers. Formula One, however, when they announce their attendance numbers, they just talk about how many times the turnstiles were turned. If you have a ticket that covers all 3 days, but you're going out and leaving the track at the end of Friday and then the end of Saturday and then coming back in on Sunday, that means you turned the turnstile on Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. But it's only one ticket sold. But they don't look at it that way. They go by turnstiles being turned 400,000 times, that number. And that number is at least held steady, if not increased, even despite the additions of 2 other now U.S.-based races in Miami and Las Vegas. And here's the other thing. The past couple of years, COTA has actually held that number of turning a turnstile. They've held the highest number amongst all the races in Formula One. And think about this. Again, this is a track that's only been here since 2012. And while on television the Cup Series is the monster, to have the U.S. Grand Prix be the most attended by Formula One standards of any race in the world, that kind of says something. Because it ain't the most popular series here. And it's very easy to do, yeah. Sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you got the entire United States, and it's, for a visiting visa, it's not terrifically difficult to get a tourist visa, so to speak. So yeah, I can understand it. Here's the other side of it here. COTA is about to set a record because the all-time record for hosting an F1 event in the United States, currently held by Watkins Glen International, where they held 20 F1 races there in all. With this contract extension, COTA, now at 13 races held there after this past weekend, by the end of the new contract extension, they will surpass that number and, I hope, keep going. Because, again, you think about Miami, you think about Vegas, those two are ones in a parking lot of a football stadium, American football, not European, and the other's a street course in Las Vegas. This track was specifically built in and opened in 2012 to bring Formula One back to the United States after the debacle that was 2007 in Indianapolis, and Formula One said, "Bye, America. See ya. Thank you very little for whatever you've done for us." This is and I've not been there, I've not laid eyes on it in person, but every time I see it, whoever's racing there, Formula One, NASCAR, whoever, even the one time that Indycar went there, this is a beautiful facility. So, happy to see that they're going to be back here for a while. A couple more things before we take a break here. This news came out last night. Formula One and Hot Wheels are back with another limited edition set, just in time for Christmas. The first set came out earlier this year, only had 8 of the 10 teams included. This time, Ferrari and Aston Martin have both signed on, so now you can get a complete set of all 10 teams from the 2025 season. Cadillac not included, maybe next year. But yeah, all 10 teams, if you're interested in the Hot Wheels collection. And during our During our week off, Tim Mayer announced he was going to be withdrawing his name for consideration as president of the FIA, the governing body over Formula One, Formula E, and many other series. Mayer said he decided to withdraw due to the processes that are in place that block any serious challenges to the incumbent of somewhat troubled President Mohammed bin Sulayem, who basically now just kind of waltzes right back in as president once again. I think we got a picture of him up there, producer John. This gives the election to Ben Sulayem as he has no other competition for the role. Mayer said this could be a sad day coming for the FIA. Quite simply, there is no choice. There will be no vote between ideas, no contest of visions, no test of leadership. There will only be one candidate. That is not a democracy. That's the illusion of democracy. Mayer, who works with the FIA, said he will continue to work from the inside to bring about reform within the FIA. Ben Sulayem, say what you want about him. I mean, he's overseen some growth that I think really has more to do with Liberty Media than Mohammed bin Sulayem does. But every time we seem to hear about Mohammed bin Sulayem, Matt, he seems to be overtly controversial in some of the actions that he takes. Okay. So you and I are both in agreement on that, at least. I got you. All right, when we come back, we'll take a break. We'll continue with going back to NASCAR. We'll talk Xfinity, Craftsman Truck Series. Still got IHRA, NHRA news, and Formula E to get to. Silly season taking an interesting turn for one driver who's going to get a promotion of sorts. What do I mean by that? Stay close. We'll tell you. Because, yeah, he's moving up a series, but there's a twist. for this segment. I'm hearing we may have a situation where some people are having a hard time on the YouTube feed trying to hear you, so I apologize for that, but hey, we're going to plug on through here. To the Xfinity Series, where NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoff driver Rajah Caruth, he's moving up in 2026. He's been signed by Junior Motorsports. He's going to join their Xfinity, soon-to-be O'Reilly Auto Parts Series organization in 2026. He'll take over the ride currently being used by Connor Zilisch, the number 88 Chevrolet, but he's doing it on a part-time basis. How many races and how many races he'll drive that car, not revealed. Caruth entering this weekend, 22 starts in Xfinity Series competition, a best finish of 12th amongst 3 top 15 finishes, 9 top 20 results, running for several different Chevrolet teams. Hendrick Motorsports, one of them, Junior Motorsports, Jordan Anderson Racing. Junior Motorsports is, and they've also done another deal with a couple of Cup Series drivers for some moonlighting next year, but I want to talk about this Rajah Caruth thing. Have we heard that he is leaving the full-time in the Truck Series to concentrate on Xfinity, or is he pulling double duty next year? Do we know? Yeah. Oh, sure. Absolutely. But I think I'm with you on here. You know, you keep that full-time ride in the Truck Series. It's not that difficult anymore because a lot of what the Craftsman Truck Series does, very few exceptions, a lot of what the Craftsman Truck Series does mirrors what the Xfinity O'Reilly Auto Parts Series does anyway. So I don't really see this as being a massive problem. They can certainly schedule it out properly since he's in a part-time role in O'Reilly Auto Parts Series competition. Then Junior Motorsports also announced they've signed Cup drivers Ross Chastain and Shane Gisbergen to run select races in the number 9 Chevrolet in 2026. So apparently that's going to become a star car too. Rules do allow Cup Series drivers to moonlight in a maximum of 5 races this year, leading into this weekend at Martinsville. Those two combined for 8 starts in that car. Van Gisbergen actually got a win in it at Chicago. And then a second behind Connor Zilisch at Sonoma the next weekend. Chastain claims 3 top 5 finishes in his 5 starts in that car. I don't see either one of them running this weekend or next, and that seems appropriate since we're in playoff competition. So Junior Motorsports may only have 2 full-time cars next year where it's just one sole lone driver for those 2 cars. It's what it's looking like. That seems strange to you? Yeah. I'm not really sure why they did it that way, but that's the way they're going to do it. And then there's Xfinity, the title sponsor of the series. They're going to go out with a big bang. We told you about this. They're about ready to become the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. So knowing that this weekend and next weekend are their last 2 runs, what they've done is for the Phoenix race, they have pulled together 10 former Xfinity Series champions. They are collectively going to give the command to start engines at the season finale in Phoenix. And then they also announced that on them, the final stage of the championship race airing on the CW network will be aired commercial-free. Not even any commercials in a double box form. It's going to be like ABC, ESPN's coverage of F1. No commercials whatsoever. The company released a statement that read in part, quote, "As our time as the title sponsor comes to a close, we wanted to say a special thank you to the fans." That's a good move. I mean, you want to talk about leaving on a high note. I think it's a great move. Congratulations to them. I love it. To the Craftsman Truck Series, where Talladega's Truck Series race marked the return of actor-turned-racer Frankie Muniz to racing after he suffered a broken wrist, sat out for over a month. As for 2026, Muniz was asked about that at Talladega. He said his plans to race in the Truck Series again next year, but at this time he doesn't have a deal beyond this year. He's running for Rayon Brothers in the 33 truck. Frontstretch.com quoted Muniz as saying, quote, "I've got a few options right now in different series. Just being honest, obviously, I will continue my relationship with Ford, but yeah, I've got some options. We'll see what happens. But I'd like to drive a truck again, so we will see." If he's got the backing of Ford, one would think he'd be able to find a truck without very much of a problem. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which they did that with Haley Deegan, and that was done before Haley was ready. I'll put it professionally and politely. That was done before Haley was ready. Hmm. Yeah. So back to Frankie Muniz, based upon that idea, if he were offered it, I mean, obviously, as a racer, you think, hey, the team in the next series up wants me. That's a very attractive offer. Frankie says, I would like to drive a truck again, so it seems like he knows his own limitations at this point in time. Do you think that he's ready to move up from the truck series to the what will be the O'Reilly Auto Parts series? And I'm with you on that. I don't think he is either. And learn. And I think he's got more to learn. Yeah. So, all right. No, not at all. Tricon Garage strengthening their core staff. They announced this week they've hired NASCAR veteran crew chief Jeff Stankiewicz. He'll become part of the Tricon competition department. Jeff Stankiewicz most recently worked with Grant Enfinger over at CR7 Motorsports, where he helped Enfinger claim 2 wins and a 4th place finish in 2024 points. In his career to date, Stankiewicz has 12 Truck Series wins as a crew chief and also has the 2021 Truck Series title back when Sheldon Creed was running in the Truck Series. Remember those days, kids? Since 2020, has guided 4 drivers into the playoffs with 2 Championship 4 appearances. He's also got 10 ARCA Menard Series wins, helped Creed to the 2023 Xfinity Series playoffs, 7th place points finish as well. Jeff Stankiewicz going into the competition director's mode means that he's stepping away as a crew chief, but this is something that Tricon feels like is going to strengthen them. Do you feel like it does? Okay, so this is a really good, bold move. Okay, all right, I like it. With the results last night, Toyota's won their 14th Craftsman Truck Series Manufacturers title. Also marks the 3rd time in the last 5 seasons they've done it. Toyota truck drivers this year won 13 races, claimed 37 top 5, 58 top 10 finishes, and got 25 stage wins. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty dang good season. I can understand how they claimed the manufacturer's title. And then a sad note here. We're gonna show you. Producer John will put it up on CRN Live on YouTube. He's gonna show you a baseball card. And you're wondering, okay, why am I showing you a baseball card of an actual baseball player? Trust me, there's a NASCAR note here. Former Boston Red Sox left fielder Mike Greenwell passed away on October 9th due to cancer. Now again, why talk a baseball player on a racing show? Because after Mike retired from the Boston Red Sox in 1996 and played a year or 2 in baseball in Japan, upon returning to the United States, he decided he was going to try his hand at racing. He ran 2 Craftsman Truck Series races in the year 2006 for Greenlight Racing before they were SS Greenlight Racing, running the 06 car or truck for them. He ran 2 races that year, back when they were running just mostly these little short tracks, Mansfield Motorsports Park and Memphis Motorsports Park, where Greenwell finished specifically 26th and 33rd, respectively. He had started late model racing in and around Florida in 2000, retired from racing altogether in 2010. It was in 2022 that he was appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida to fill out a Lee County Commissioner's term after the previous commissioner had passed away. He was reelected to the post in 2024. Greenwell passing away due to medullary thyroid cancer, family said on Thursday, October the 9th. Mike Greenwell, 62 years old, way, way too young. Way, way too young, no doubt about it. What I'm going to do here is you've got some coaching situations that you've got to do because apparently you're on the sidelines by yourself today. Is that right, Coach Matt? Okay, good deal. And I'll see you about 10:30 or so once I get everything packed up here and head on out there. We wish you the best of luck, Coach Matt. Get the team ready to go and have a great game, okay? All right, Coach Matt going to go do his coaching duties here as I will soldier on alone in the final segment. And in that final segment, I'm going to talk IndyCar, IHRA, NHRA, and Formula E. Or do my level best to get all of those in there before we get to the top of the hour. Stick around. It's going to be a fun ride here as we get to the final segment of this edition of CRN with IndyCar next and Uncos Hollinger Racing. They're the ones that are really trying to fill out the IndyCar seats. Have they been able to do it? We'll fill you in next. Yeah, the race to the finish line here as we turn our attention to the NTT IndyCar Series for 2026. Team still making moves. Not a whole lot of moves left because, truth be told, weren't a whole lot of open seats left anyway. And Juncos Hollinger Racing has decided that they indeed are going to make a driver change, closing down yet another one of those seats. They bring back a driver who ran with them from 2018 through 2023. That's Rinus VeeKay. VeeKay raced just this past year for Dale Coyne Racing for the 2025 season, but he's moving back over on a deal that really has no details. So we're actually not even sure whether it's just a one-year or a multi-year deal. And what this does is it hurts Connor Daly. It appears he's out of a ride. Daly wasn't even mentioned in the press release announcing the return of VeeKay, and in fact, no mention was made of who might be joining VK at JHR in that press release. Some rumors claiming they might try to lure Romain Grosjean back to IndyCar, or they might go back to Stingray Robb. Stingray Robb drove that second car for them in 2025. And it was interesting to note that at the time that the press release came out, Robb's manager, Peter Riossi, said that his client is only 1 year into a 2 racing. And sure enough, a couple of days after announcing VK's return, Junko Salinger Racing confirmed Stingray Robb was going to remain with the team for the 2026 season at least. So VK and Robb are their 2 drivers for 2026. Again, don't know whether these Stingray Robb's on the second year of his 2-year deal. We don't even know how long Rinus VK's deal is for. Time will tell. AJ Foyt Racing is expanding out their footprint a little bit. They are now dipping their toes, I should say, back into Indy Next. They're pairing with HMD Motorsports in what they're terming a, quote, strategic alliance, unquote. What this is going to do is allow AJ Foyt Racing to work with HMD Motorsports not only on driver development, and that's important. Understand that. It is important because they don't really have a driver development program as such. Yes, they've got the alliance with Team Penske, and Team Penske's kind of using them. Hey, let's go ahead and give this particular driver some time over there, and if we like him and we have an opening, we're just going to pull him over to ours. Well, wait, where's AJ Foyt getting his drivers from, right? Now we know it's coming from HMD Motorsports in the Indy Lights Series. It'll also allow for the development and advancement of other team members like pit crew, race engineers, race strategists, and a whole lot more. AJ Foyt Racing Team President Larry Foyt said, quote, "This has been a long time coming. Played a significant role in developing drivers who've gone on to compete at the top levels of IndyCar, and we felt that it was time now to get involved in Indy Next by Firestone program again. Forming a technical and strategic alliance with HMD Motorsports provides the experience and technical support to make our Indy Next program as strong, as effective as possible." Now, this is actually the second time that AJ Foyt has been involved in what we're now calling Indy Next. The prior time it was called Indy Lights. Back in 2002, AJ Foyt IV won the series championship that year. Then the car was turned over to Ed Carpenter, who won 1 race that season at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But shortly thereafter, Ed Carpenter moved up, AJ Foyt IV had moved up, and they just dropped the program. And now, finally, they're re-entering for the 2026 season. It was funny, Chip Ganassi Racing, I want to say it was within 48 hours of that announcement being made, Chip Ganassi Racing sent us a text that said, "Welcome one, welcome all to the Indy Next Series." So they're happy about it as well. What I'm seeing of this, you're getting all of these big name IndyCar teams going down to Indy Next, and what it's doing is it's strengthening that feeder series. Because there have been concerns about whether or not it was viable enough to be able to survive long term. Now it doesn't appear that that's even a problem. As for HMD Motorsports, they joined Indy Next only in 2019 as a part-time organization, only went full-time in 2021. Since then, they've won a team title and 2 drivers' titles, along with a number of Rookie of the Year wins, and they've sent a number of drivers up to the IndyCar Series. So yes, this is a very, very good move for AJ Foyt Racing, and I think a very good alliance for them and for Indy Next, as it only serves to, again, bolster the support of that feeder series. Turning to the straight line, guys, we had been wondering, and we weren't concerned about it. So don't misunderstand me when I say this. We weren't concerned about it. We figured it's Elite Motorsports. They're a really good organization within the NHRA ranks, certainly within the Pro Stock Car ranks. Then they're going to get into Top Fuel, and they're going to get into Top Fuel with Tony Stewart. We all know it doesn't really matter what you think about Tony Stewart. You might love him, you might like him, you might hate him. It really doesn't matter. Either way, you got to understand where Tony Stewart stands in the racing scheme of things in all of motorsports. They shouldn't have a problem finding a sponsor, right? Absolutely not. They've already found it. It's R&L Carriers, longtime NHRA sponsors. They're going to join as the primary sponsor for the 2026 Top Fuel entry with Tony Stewart behind the wheel. R&L Carriers, formed in 1965, boasts a fleet of over 21,000 tractors and trailers, been a partner of the NHRA for the past 5 years, where they've been a sponsor of Josh Hart Racing. You say, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Trust me, there's a tie-in. This means that they're going to continue on that same ride because Elite worked with Josh Hart Racing to purchase and then field that Top Fuel entry for 2026. That's where it comes in. Crew chief on the Top Fuel entry is going to be a gentleman by the name of Mike Green. He claims several championships to his credit as a crew chief in the NHRA. Green began working in the NHRA ranks back in 1987, worked with drivers like Darrell Gwynn, Tommy Johnson Jr., Corey McLenithan, Tony Schumacher, won 2 titles with him, Austin Prock, and most recently Justin Ashley. But Skag Racing let him go with 2 races left here in the NHRA season. They decided to go with Tommy DeLago as their new crew chief for Ashley, announced they were going to be announcing a new assistant crew chief for him soon. My question is this. Did Green go to them and say, hey, I've got this opportunity pending. I might want to take it. And they said, tell you what, go ahead and go over there now. We'll move on. That's a good question. Or did they fire him and then Elite Motorsports said, hey, we'll take him. Either way, fairly safe to say that he's landing softly with Elite and Tony Stewart. Then there's Josh Hart. Josh Hart sells off his full-time team. What's he going to do? Well, he's landed pretty softly too. Sells the team and is taking over the Top Fuel ride at John Force Racing next year. You say, wait a minute, which John Force Top Fuel ride? Well, he signed a multi-year deal to take over the ride that's being vacated by 2-time NHRA champ Brittany Force. Force announced recently she was going to be stepping away from competition at the end of this year in order to concentrate on starting a family. Sound familiar to the Tony Stewart situation with his wife? Yeah. Hart's going to continue on with Force's crew chief combo that's currently calling the shots for Brittany Force, Dave Grubnick and John Collins. Sponsorship will come from Hart's own Bernie's Speed Shop. The announcement makes him only the 3rd Top Fuel driver in the history of John Force Racing after Brittany and some fill-in work and a part-time ride by Austin Prock. So, yeah, John Force Racing is mostly a funny car operation, but they like doing some Top Fuel stuff, and I think Josh Hart will do just fine there. And then we look over to the IHRA, and not necessarily for their on-track stuff, but something that they're doing off the track. Daryl Cuttle continues to be on a buying spree. I can't think of any other way to put it. Daryl comes in, he buys the IHRA, intellectual property rights and all that stuff, and before the ink's seemingly dry on that contract, he goes out and he buys the better part of 10 dragways around the country, most of them in the eastern part of the country. And now, after announcing so many different projects to build those things back up and to rehab them and to do updates on those tracks, he's going to go outside drag racing, and he's just announced the purchase of the Powerboat P1 USA P1 Offshore Racing Series. So he's, in addition to drag racing, getting into powerboat racing. This also pairs the 2 previously competing series, P1 USA and P1 Offshore, something Cuttle believes could result in a unification of all competing powerboat races. Series. He notes that after he announced the purchase, he began talking with Race World Offshore officials about a working agreement at the very least. God, he'll end up buying this as well. It's going to be renamed the IHRA Offshore Racing Series for 2026. Cuttle notes this should allow for the combined series to race in more premier locations, have an expanded presence in media, and settle on one set of rules for everybody. Details on the schedule and other 2026 initiatives, Cuttle noted, are coming soon. I only mention this because this is now part of the IHRA. This is an amazing expansion for a guy who, I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of before. I didn't know who Daryl Cuttle was until he came in and bought the IHRA, and now he's been on this buying spree. Daryl Cuttle must be one of the doggone richest persons in the United States of America, if not North America. But again, I'd never heard of him before. I don't know where he came from. I don't know where he got his money from. Hopefully he's not overextending himself, but if he keeps doing this, apparently he's not. Apparently he's got the cash to be able to do it. Knock yourself out, man. Again, I don't think we're going to start covering powerboat racing, but it seemed like an appropriate thing to talk about here since the IHRA is now taking it over. I'm a little bit blown away, just to be real blunt about it. All right, that brings us to Formula E here, where we will wrap up today's events, and there's a lot of moves being made in the world of Formula E. Dan Ticktum set to return to the Cooper Kiro Formula E team for another season, according to the team. They announced that he was going to be back on Monday of this week. It was an expected move, so it's not not a surprise by any stretch, but with several moves of big-name drivers in the series, this team did do their due diligence on who else they thought might be able to help the team advance, but they felt that continuity was going to be more beneficial in the long run, so they retained Tictum. Tictum has actually been with this team in previous forms for a few years now. He was initially with the Neo F333 team that became Team ERT before Kiro bought the operation, got sponsorship from Cupra Kiro. Claims the team's claimed a lot of team firsts last year, including their first ever fastest lap, their first ever podium finish, led to the team's first win at Jakarta, Indonesia. They wrapped it up with the first ever pole position, claimed in the final weekend of the year at London. So I would say Dan Tictum is a really good match for them. As for the other seat, noting first and foremost that they and David Beckman, who had driven for them last year, 2024-2025 season, had mutually agreed to part ways after the season. He could only claim one top 10 finish. His place on the team, they chose to replace basically one rookie with another. See the picture of him right now if you're on CRN Live on YouTube. It's a Spaniard by the name of Pepe Martí. He's been announced as their second driver. He's all of 20 years old, hails from Barcelona. Has been racing in Formula 2 for the past 2 years, has 4 wins and 8 podium finishes at that time. He had joined the F1 feeder ladder only in the 2021 season after claiming third in the Formula 4 Spanish Championship, runner-up in the Formula Regional Asian Championship, moved up to Formula 3 in 2022 where he got 3 wins and 4 podiums in 2 seasons there before moving up to, as noted, Formula 2. But here's the thing. He's hit that ceiling. It's that ceiling that we've been talking about now for a few years. There's no room in the Formula One inn. Even though there were, 6 rookies coming into the series this year in Formula One, there's no room for Pepe Martí to jump up into Formula One at this point in time. So he took the bird in the hand versus the 2 in the bush, and instead of sticking in Formula 2, he decided he was going to move up a level. Some people might call it a sideways move, but he moves up to the top level of electric car racing anyway. And he lands in there with a pretty good mentor in Dan Tictum. So we'll see what happens with the Cupra Kiro now that happens. Also, that also means that all the seats for the upcoming Formula E season are full. Then there's Antonio Felix da Costa. He announced recently he was going to be stepping away from the Porsche Formula E team to move over to Jaguar's Formula E organization. We now have more reason why he did that. This is allowing da Costa to return to sports car racing in the World Endurance Championship Series for 2026 while working with Jaguar, so he'll pull double duty as his schedule allows. He had moved to Alpine to join their Hyperclass car program. You see that Hypercar class car on CRN Live on YouTube. He returns to the series. Last he ran in it, he was running in the LMP2 class for Yota in 2022, actually won the division championship that year with his co-drivers. But after the 2023 season, Porsche officials insisted that he run only Formula E. And da Costa said he wasn't too happy with it, but he did it through the 2024-2025 season. He was successful in doing so, but in looking for opportunities to be able to get back to sports car racing, he found it in Jaguar, so he moved from Porsche to Jaguar. Jaguar officials didn't have any problems or restrictions on da Costa's ability to return to the WEC, approved his signing to run with Alpine in 2026. Basically believed to be that he will make Formula E the priority. In other words, if they race on the same weekend, WEC and Formula E, he will be running the Formula E car as opposed to the WEC car. Otherwise, Jaguar officials don't seem to have a problem with it, so there's good news there. And then there's this situation, one final note here, in that when we gave you the Season 12 schedule for Formula E, we had noted that it had a very big, kind of almost gaping hole in it. They had a date set aside, specifically June 20th, but they had no location attached for it. Well, now they do. That place, not terribly surprising, it's in China. Specifically, Sanya, China. Sanya means that they're going to return to a location that the series raced in 2018 and 2019 before stupid COVID hit and turned everything upside down, and they couldn't go back to China for 4 years or something like that. So this means actually they're going to have races in Sanya, China, and then the very next weekend will be a double header. Not the next weekend, the next racing weekend for them. After Sanya, they're just going to be in China again. They're going to race in Shanghai. one would have thought they might have been able to find some other place. But apparently Sonia's offer was just too good to pass up, so they took it. Either way, doesn't really matter. So there you go. Wow. 2 weeks of news there. Wow. Thank you very, very much for allowing us the time off last weekend and sticking with us here as we return after a week's break. We had a great weekend at Talladega, truth be told. The weather was fantastic. The racing was really, really good. Yeah, there was some drama behind the scenes. Again, if you want to find out more about that, go check out the Cross Flags podcast. It's up now, available on CRN Live on YouTube. Or if you are an audio kind of person, it is also available on the Spotify streaming service. So you can get the audio of it there. So please do. And we thank you very much for, again, all the support. If you are on CRN Live and checking it out for the first time, you haven't subscribed, just down below. All you got to do is do that. We appreciate it. We're constantly building, and we appreciate you. We appreciate all the support of the flagship radio station in East Central Alabama, 95.1 The Mountain. It's been a great ride. We're loving it, and we're planning on continuing it for a very long time, covering, yes, NASCAR, along with all the other series that we cover. We're loving it. And we're glad that you do too. We appreciate you, again, hanging with us. I'm going to go check out Coach Matt, see how he's doing over there. And next weekend, I promise, we'll update you as we get down to the final weekend. We'll also update on the Fantasy League, because there's a CRN shirt and hat that's going to the winner. And if it happens to be Matt or I, which it doesn't look like, last time I saw, neither Matt or I are in the running to win the title. So it looks like we've got a hat and a t-shirt going out to a winner on our fantasy league, which we're planning on doing again next year. So think about it and be ready to go with us. Hopefully you will. And in the meantime, we're going to say a fond farewell to you. We'll be back with a podcast in the middle of the week, probably record it Tuesday, be ready to go and view on Wednesday at the latest, I would think, with producer Molly and producer John doing very, very hard work on those. And then, of course, we'll be back here, live and in person, ready to go next Saturday morning, right here on CRN Live. Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all. We'll talk to you again Tuesday and next Saturday.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing.